All right. Let's go. Welcome to Inside the. Oh no, it's Between the Numbers today. What the hell am I talking about? Right. It's Between the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget to like the videos if you like them and to share them far and wide. You guys know the deal. We're on X, we're on Getter, we're on Truth, we're on Rumble, we're everywhere. But the best place to follow us is right there. peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. We had a great book club yesterday. We're reading A Demon of Our Own Design by Richard Bookstaber. It's just a fascinating book. It is, of course, about financial services and market crashes, and really, they are our demon of our own design. We create them through complexity, liquidity, and speculation. But he makes it easy for people who aren't market, hedge fund, and others in the financial industry to understand. And we were showing you how things were tracking in the polling. Although if you watch the archived recording, which I was finally able to upload, I'll upload those that we've missed. If you watch that, I don't think you'll see that. That was like with the not the camera off, but the recording off. We went over some of the polling I'm about to show you right now. So again, it's always a big benefit to go to locals first, because on locals, you will absolutely, it's always a big benefit to be a supporter of locals because you'll always get stuff ahead of time. Wednesdays Inside the Numbers. By that time, we'll have more detailed and granular cross tabulations to look at, because I want to dive a little bit deeper, especially into what's going on here with the Democratic Party. It's something that has been going on for a long time. A Big Con and the rest of that whole crew, who apparently is going to try to attack me later. Shocker. They were wholly inept and wholly, I don't want to say incompetent, but ineffective at stopping this or even recognizing it, right? And they would, pine on and on about the dangers of socialism. But the fact of the matter is, they ruined like every Republican president since I've been a kid. And when Republicans are in power, they haven't dealt with the core issues and grievances that make up not only their own coalition or Trump's coalition. They don't have a coalition. Donald Trump has a coalition, or did. If he continues this way, he's going to let them ruin it for him. But you can't ignore people's grievances forever. And that is what has been going on. And the fact of the matter is, if you didn't watch me with Andrew Colvett and Blake Neff on the Charlie Kirk show earlier, it's very important for you all to understand that either MAGA is successful, America First is successful, or we're going to get this fanatical brand of socialism that has been rebranded. Blake was right about that. You'll see how many just choose democratic socialism. But the fact of the matter is, they are socialists. And they'll call themselves moderate over liberal in many ways, because they don't view traditional liberalism to be effective or to be like pure enough, right, Laura? Is that the best way to put it? Like pure enough. Their brand of leftism is a very far left brand these days. And the majority of the party, vast majority of the party, believes this, subscribes to this. And because of anyone's ability to sell, like the right has not been able to sell capitalism. And we'll look at all of this stuff, what's behind it in more detail later. But I am going to show you something that I think is interesting, because Blake brought it up and I've had more time to look at it. But the right perverted capitalism themselves as well, right? I mean, it's not capitalism what we have right now, guys, right? I mean, for our book club, I would very much love to read The Protestant Ethic and Spirit of Capitalism by Max Weber. He's a German sociologist. It is a seminal piece of work and must read. And he argues that we need to write this into like the Akashic record forever, that this is not what our founders subscribe to, right? Like their version of capitalism, which of course he was writing not long after they were around. Their version of capitalism is not the pursuit of greed. It isn't leave behind your fellow man and not care about their condition. It isn't be the party of big business. It isn't. That's not what capitalism meant to the founding fathers. Capitalism was a new form of market. It was a new form of economics, of the free market, that our founders subscribed to because they had a core way of thinking. They had a worldview, which was obviously very deeply steeped in the Protestant ethic. And we've abandoned that. And with us abandoning that, we've gotten this weird form of fascism, which is really close. What we're most closely associated with now is otherwise called corporatism, but it's really fascism. And basically, it's the government picking winners and losers, not giving two whats about the plight of the little guy or the one who is underadvantaged, represented, or not represented at all. And it has the veneer of capitalism, but it doesn't work like capitalism works. So you're holding people back. You're hurting other people at the expense of your political friends. That's fascism. The government controls market, labor, capital. That's production. That's fascism. And I know we all hate to use this word, especially in the wake of what happened with Charlie. The problem is because fascism is so connected to Nazism, whereas that's just not true. Fascism does not necessarily mean Nazism, right? Nazism was a very specific brand of fascism that dealt with an ethnic component. That's not fascism. Fascism is an economic and political definition. And that is what we have in this country, most closely associated with right now. That's the truth. This is not a capitalist society. And because we have failed to recognize the needs of people for so long, they turned to Donald Trump. And all the big con people couldn't understand it. They never supported Donald Trump. Let's get real. Let's call it. This is why we're about to be attacked today, because we're like simply just pulling honestly the result of their failures. And if Donald Trump does not succeed and Republicans do not rebrand, I mean, they wasted a year. I don't know that they can do it anymore. I don't know. I'm not trying to give you copium. If you're on the right, I'm not here to do that for you. I'm here to give you an honest analysis of what's going on. But if they do fail, we will get this brutal form of fascism that with a more socialist component that Democrats now subscribe to, and they do subscribe to it. So let's go ahead and pull it up. Here's ideology. Again, I want to get this all weighted and put together so we can show you what is driving this. You can see that conservative identification has fallen to 28.9% this week. We don't wait for ideology. Ideology is just like a very good, it could be a red flag if you have a response bias or something like that. That's not what's going on here. Ideology is tracking the way it has been tracking for a while. Moderates are increasing. Conservatism is dying. As a breed, as a brand, it is dying, right? So the old, screaming through a microphone thing, it's just not working. And the truth is Donald Trump had a more moderate electorate than any electorate we've seen since 1992. At that year, conservatism as an identification plummeted because so many of the Reagan coalition fractured off into the Ross Perot coalition. Okay, 1 in 5 voters, guys. And they no longer identified as conservative. They identified as moderate, and they did not vote for George Herbert Walker Bush. All right. And then, by the way, ironically, it would be his son who would bring back those people into the fold. They would start to again identify as conservative. And Bush screwed it up. The neocons took over the Bush administration, and they ruined the Republican Party for what would have been a generation if Donald Trump did not come back. Come down the damn escalator. And for a little bit, we saw an uptick again. But the truth is, conservatism as a brand has been falling for a very long time, and more people become moderate because there's nothing else for them to choose. And that's an industry limitation. We have really nothing else that we can ask these people, which is why when it comes to whether or not you are a Republican or you're a Democrat, we have long asked people, right? And by the way, we're R+3 this week. I mean, that is right. I know it's right. I do think that we got a little bit too many educated Republicans, but that's all right. We'll deal with that when the waiting happens. But you'll notice when somebody says they're a Republican, we've been doing this a long time. Well, you're America First Republican or are you traditional Republican? And by the way, there's another flag that we did get too many educated Republicans. But for Democrats now, and by the way, again, just a pause, independents got a little bit more even this week. Democrats were asking this question. More specifically, do you identify with socialism, democratic socialism, or traditional liberalism? We haven't always tracked this, but this question does date back years for us. It dates back to when Bernie Sanders first ran in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. We asked the question first then. Later, we would ask it again. We had a pause on it, but we would ask it again when polling the Democratic primary in 2020, which Bernie was robbed of again, but that's his own fault. You know, he's not right. He's bribed at it. I mean, that's what it comes down to. But voters were telling us, Democratic voters were telling us, no, we actually do agree with Bernie. It's just that Barack Obama and MSNBC and CNN have convinced us that Bernie can't beat Donald Trump, so we have to vote for Joe Biden. That's what happened in the 20 primary. They didn't want Joe Biden. They didn't support his policies, but they picked him because they were convinced that Joe Biden was the only one who could beat Donald Trump. But even back then, guys, about 38% of the Democratic Party, 38%, identified with democratic socialism. This number has clearly increased over the years, and it's getting worse. Let me zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. So out of the entire sample, of course, these are completed interviews with Democrats based on various modes, of course. But 698, almost 700 interviews with Democrats. And you can see that a majority, 50%, about half, just over half actually, identified straight with democratic socialism. Another 7% identified with socialism, just flat out. And the truth is, I think Blake Neff was right. This is a rebranded form of socialism. There is no difference here. Socialism has never worked, so they needed something to rebrand it as. And they rebranded it in the mold of the European democratic socialist. But here's the kicker. Europe, number one, isn't working. It's failing. Those countries are failing. Number two, the only reason they've been able to have these social welfare experiments, and Bernie loves to point out the Scandinavian countries, the only reason they work is because we pay for their shit. France, same thing. You can't retire at 55 years old, 60 years old at most. You can't give everybody free higher education. You can't give everybody free healthcare and all this other stuff that makes you such an honorable democratic socialist unless another country is paying for your defense, which is what has been going on in the post-World War II era. NATO lovers, neocons, have actually done more to advance the cause of socialism than almost anybody else. Because if we didn't pay their bills, they wouldn't have the luxury of being able to do this. And we would never have somebody in this country like Bernie Sanders pointing to their countries as models. So the next time you lament the trend in these numbers, thank a neocon. Now notice this. There's about 1 in 4 who will constantly say they are unsure or they have no opinion. That's BS. It's not quite as much as the America Firsters. America First is slowly but surely has eaten away at that similar number that we used to get all the time. And if, in fact, when you look at responses to certain questions, like the moratorium on immigration is a great example of this. When you look at how the unsure answered whether they supported or opposed the moratorium on third world immigration, you'll notice that they look more like MAGA than they do like those who identify as traditional Republicans. The same is true when it comes to Democrats. This giant unsure number really is not unsure. They very much are in line with those who identify as democratic socialists or socialism, period. Traditional liberal only came in at 17.3% because there was a slight uptick in it yesterday for a brief period before it collapsed again. It was really coming in, looked like it was going to come in closer to 13, 14. But there was a slight uptick. It drug it up. We got more interviews disproportionately yesterday, which always happens on a Sunday versus Saturday, and it brought it up. Blake brings up the point, where are these people? Who's driving this? And is there any way, Rich, for you to tell us whether or not these people are, where are you? Did I do the, I may have to go to a different report to be able to get you, hold on one second, guys. I may have to go to a different report to be able to get you this question so we can cross-verify it, because it's very, very, very illuminating. All right, so he brings up, there's a comparison report right there, actually. That's pretty good. He brings up whether or not new migrants, is this coming from people who are new migrants or people who are, third generation? Like, who is doing this? And there it is. Why isn't it in this report, though? You should be able to get it here, too. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So if we pick, for instance, not U.S. born, very small percentage of the population, and I'm going to do a very small percentage of the sample, in fact, but I'm going to show you first generation and foreign born before I show you one or the other. Okay. So here is that's race, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. You'll notice even with MAGA, all right, with Republicans, self-identified Republicans, you'll notice that first generation and not U.S. born are actually more MAGA than the entire population. There's something extremely interesting going on over here. Bear with me. If I remove the not U.S. born part of that, watch this. Look at that. So if you are a first generation immigrant who identifies as a Republican, you are more MAGA than the entire population overall. Why is that? What's going on? There is, and I plan on looking back on years of data and trying to map this out, but this is what's going on in this data set and in recent data sets. I want to know how long it's been going on, but you come here and your parents are leftists, and they come largely from left-wing countries. If you were born here first generation, you will begin to assimilate. But if the longer these generations persist, what happens, guys? Well, they go to college, right? Yeah, they go to college and they go out and get themselves those nifty 4-year and higher degrees, which turns them back into freaking leftists. Second generation is actually the most educated and leftist out of the group. If you track these, I don't want to say these people, if you track immigrants by generation, that is what's going on. Then by third generation again, they I don't want to say they reassimilate, but the longer they're here, it either something's unscrewing them, or there's something generational about this period, which is, and I know that sounds simple, but college degrees, the value of college degrees is going down again. So we had this burst in America during a period. There was some people who fought back against it. Rick Santorum did. At one time, Huckabee did, but now he's full-blown nutcase. They would say, it's okay if you don't go to college because everyone was being told, go to college, waste the money, get a freaking liberal arts degree, have nothing to do with it, get $100K in debt or more. And the people were doing it. But that's not happening anymore. So it's possible that's part of the answer, the explanation of what's going on here. But I honestly don't know yet. I'm speculating because I know about the other data trend when it comes to education in the U.S. We had this period of explosion of all, especially white people, but second generation immigrants, we got to go to college. You got to go to college. And then it stopped. It was reversed. All right. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But look at first generation with Democrats. Okay. So the overall number with Democrats was just a little over 50. And then you had another 7% who said that they identified with socialism. First generation Democrats go a different way. Democratic socialism identification is 58%. And socialism is 13.2. Watch this. Add not U.S. born. Come on. Look at that. I'll let you in on a little secret. The sample is small. Nobody identified as a straight up socialist. But that's why the socialist identification actually fell about 2 points. It all goes into democratic socialism. I'll show you in a second. And now we have 60% almost right off the bat who just identify as democratic socialists. And another 12 who identify with socialism flatly. So you're looking at over 70%, almost 3/4, guys, of the Democratic Party in this first generation and not U.S. born population, socialists. That's crazy. Traditional liberalism is only 12%. So we are importing. I'm sorry. Look, I know my job's a pollster, but the fact of the matter is I have to call it how I see it. So if you're a Democrat, you're going to get angry with what I'm about to say, but it's true. We're importing un-American ideas. Don't get mad at me for it. Get mad at Sam Adams. Schemes of leveling don't work. And under this Constitution, under this government, are wholly unconstitutional. Sam Adams on collectivism. We're importing it. We're importing it. And at one point we were educating it. We were indoctrinating people with it. And that's how we got here. All right. So it's just true. And I hadn't looked at it like this until Blake asked the question. On the flip side of that, the only good news for Republicans on this is that the truth is the first generation and not U.S. born has shifted remarkably right overall. So overall, in the Trump era, in the beginning of the Trump era, this was a D plus a million group. Donald Trump won it last time. Yup. He won it. And if you look at how they identify overall with party, they're actually R plus 5, which is more than the entire population. Why? Because you don't have those educated whites, those indoctrinated whites in this group. You just don't. Not many of them. Immigration, folks, has not been from Europe. Of course, we take in people from everywhere, but overall, the vast majority of immigration that we're taking in is third world immigration and Asian immigration. Actually, that would be interesting. As we gather more data, it'd be interesting as a subset to see where they are. You can see, though, they are more Republican, but they are also more moderate and more liberal. So they're both sides of the extreme here. That's kind of the truth, because you see and I don't view MAGA to be extreme. I view it to be anti-establishment, anti-status quo, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're the extreme if the status quo has become something else, which it has. So when you go and you look down, adding this group as well, you can see that that's what happened to the liberal identification. Now, if we were just to get rid of, and this is why we need to collect more data, because I'm telling you, obviously, this is a very small, not US born is very small. You got to remember, this is a registered voter sample. If it was an adult sample, it would be much higher. That's why when you go and you look at Gallup's foreign born in their polling. And by the way, put this under your hat. When you consider their recent poll for Donald Trump's approval rating, they're all adults. And in the adult sample, in the Gallup adult sample, it's anywhere between usually 13 and 18% foreign born. I kid you not. I can actually show you that and prove that to you. All right. Because that's a big claim. And hold on one second. I am going to prove that to you. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let's go. Yep, I found it. So I'll show you here in a second. Let's go through this. Let's just say not US born. We'll have to gather a lot more data because you'll see that there's just not that many of them in the sample. Look at that. 71% Democratic Socialism. 71% out of the 17 people that were interviewed that were not US born, they are foreign born, and they identified as Democrats. Out of the 17 people that we interviewed, 71% of them, 12 of them, said they were Democratic Socialists. So although it's a small sample, it's a little bit hard to ignore the disparity. Little bit hard. That's a big friggin' disparity. And by the way, not US born when we look at Republicans, very different. Without first gen, MAGA has no chance. I mean, sorry. Foreign born people, Trump won by 2. Newly naturalized foreign born, Trump won by 2 overall, which was a remarkable feat. But they are not MAGA, dude. Okay? That's what they are not MAGA. Even the Republicans, they're just not. All right, let me prove that, by the way, to you. I wonder what it was this last poll in Gallup. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up and I'll swap the screens. Come on, they asked so much about this. Whoop, is that it? Nope. Country, that's generation, born in the U.S. One or both were born in another country, 21% of their sample. One or both parents are immigrants, 10% of their sample. Self and parents born in the U.S., 78. Where is this? There's another one, though. I want to say it can't be 21%. Can't be. That's too high. 18%? Sure. Okay, it was 12% in this poll. In that poll they just released, it was 12%. 88% of the sample was born in the United States. 12% was born in another country. Okay, and I'll show it to you right now, just so you guys know. Remove. Put my old pretty self up there for a second while I remove this. And actually, you can see it's been like this for a long time. Actually, sometimes it's more. It's 13. But you'll see the overall trend is it's been going on for a while in Gallup. See it? Boom, 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 boom. All right. 88%, 12%, 88%, 12%, 87%, 13%, 89%, 11%. You got to go back to June of 2008 for it to be below. It was 12% in this last survey Gallup conducted. But guys, I don't know who needs to know this, but conducting a poll over a 22-day period for a president's approval rating is just entirely unnecessary and it's not legitimate, right? So I thought we were done in this industry with this debate until, we saw, I thought we were done with it until recently with Gallup doing this. What a shame what's happened to George Gallup's namesake. What a shame. I was talking to Troy Olson actually earlier today about this. George Gallup has one of my favorite quotes. I've actually thought about blowing it up and putting it up here. And the quote is, without polls, elites would be guided only by letters to congressmen, the lobbying of pressure groups, and the reports of political henchmen. George Gallup. And that's why I'm a pollster. That's why I wanted to be a pollster. And now here we are with George Gallup, his namesake, contributing to this problem. That version, that school of thought, yeah, we can track over periods of time. You know how I feel about it. Public opinion typically doesn't change all of that much in short periods of time. But, and I'll show you that actually. It's so remarkable how our tracking is week to week to week here is so close. But 22 days on a president's approval rating is ridiculous. I can tell you just from last week, the percentage of voters who told us they strongly approve on immigration with the job Donald Trump is doing on immigration rose 4 points alone. Most of it came from people who said last week that they came from the somewhat approved category, but others, it came from what happened is somewhat disapproved, then went to somewhat approve or strongly approve, and a lot of the somewhat approves went over to strongly approve. So his approval rating overall just ticked up a hair. Not a lot, but you could see where the intensity of it went. Why? Because of this moratorium. Because of this moratorium. Gallup wouldn't catch that. 22 days, they're still going to have the people who are pissed off that he hasn't done anything on immigration in 3 months and he's been playing footsies with Benjamin Netanyahu, who he invited again back to the White House. I don't know what else to say, guys. The bubble is thick over there. There's actually an article in The Atlantic, which I cannot stand The Atlantic. It's trash, but she's right. It's an article about Trump never being more isolated than he is now. She's right. What she didn't mention, and what many people don't really know, and this is why I implore the president to go out and do rallies, even if you get booed, sir. I think it's something you just need to hear. If you remain in the White House isolated like this, the violent leftists have won. I understand Charlie's assassination had a very big impact on you and your own assassination, but we're looking, sir, at a very different guy than the fight guy. Very different. We're gonna need that guy back, because if you don't go out and go sit with your people, then you're letting the leftists win. You're letting the violence win. They have isolated you and kept you cooped up. And as George Gallup said, you are guided only by sycophants who give you bullshit polls. You're guided by congressmen and women who are stabbing you in your back every chance they can get and will soon anyway. You're guided by the lobby of pressure groups and the henchmen around you who have their own agenda. You have to go out because of that, and because you're letting the violent leftists win. I have a couple of appearances myself, including later this month, that is a big fat FU to violent leftists. I'm doing it on purpose. And I am somebody who recently had the FBI at his house because of crazy shit that was mailed to my home address, which I don't think I've made public until now. But I'm going to do it because go for yourself, right? You don't get to scare me like that. You sure as hell can't scare the president of the United States in staying in the White House. And that's the part of the article that was missing from that the Atlantic piece. He's got to go out He's got to, because this isn't, some things are breaking through. That's true, but not enough. Not enough. And it's like you start to take a few steps forward and you're taking a few steps back. Here is the overall. I wanted to go and just weight this question real quick, because again, we did get a little bit more too educated a bit of Republicans. It was by region that was doing it, not so much region, geography. So I wanted to get this out there and wait. And then after this, when I get the crosstabs up, guys, we'll deep dive into more of this Democratic identification issue. So by age and everything. Right now, if you look at the raw results that I show you, the problem with that is that the raw results are age specific. So we don't ask people whether or not they fit into the 18 to 29 category. We know their actual age. And then later they're regrouped when we process the crosstabs into different age buckets. We do age and age detail. 18 to 24, 25 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 64, 65 to 74, 75 plus. Or just the regular age buckets, which are 18 to 29, 30 to 44, 45 to 64, 65 plus. So I can't show you anything by age right now. But I did go and create... you don't need all this. Hold on. Let me just copy this. And we'll just look at it bigger. Here we go. By like my dashboard. All right. This is the result so far of registered voters. Interesting. Likely voter sample is more favorable to Democrats than the registered voter sample. Yet, and I'm talking about on the generic ballot, yet Trump's moratorium is actually several points more popular among likely voters. Here is where it's at right now. Once we wrap up last few interviews and I package it up, we'll see where it falls. But I don't mean falls. It will where exactly it falls. The bottom line is this proposal is extremely popular. It is hard for us in this country to come to a consensus with a controversial issue like immigration, especially this much of a consensus. So as you can see right now, 34.1% strongly support this. Look at strongly opposed, 19. The margin is big. Combined oppose, and most of it from strongly, rises to 57% among those who are the most likely voter sample. Hold on, let me just close my door. All right, sorry about that. My kid comes in and wants to tell about the day here. December 1st, soon. Soon it will be Christmas break. But obviously, guys, this is a popular, very popular proposal. I think that Republicans, if Trump continues to drive this message, Republicans aren't stupid and worthless and start to work on like a very big, that includes this proposal, a comprehensive bill to fix. Look, our immigration system is completely broken. By fix, I'm not talking about amnestying 40 million people, which is actually, it's probably more than that. But we still need to do something with the immigration system. Me personally, I am in favor of repealing Hart-Celler. We need to go back to our original immigration, pre-Great Society immigration system. There was nothing wrong with having naturalization quotas or limits per different regions of the country. We wanted, and we were like this for most of our history, we wanted certain people and we didn't want certain people. It's not a matter of we want white people and we don't want brown people. That's ridiculous. If Republicans were smart, they take as many people from Venezuela as they possibly can. I have all the towns mapped out for you where you need to resettle them. Give me a buzz. We're going to stick them in New Jersey. We're going to stick them in New Hampshire. We're going to stick them in Minnesota. We're going to stick them in Georgia. We're going to do what Obama did on purpose to turn longtime Republican states into battlegrounds. and ultimately intended to turn them into democratic states. But it's still, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this side of the world, we're importing, you just saw, horrible ideas that don't work. Guys, I said this on the Charlie Kirk show. I'll repeat it right now. Socialism killed more people in the 20th century than all of the wars combined. And that century had 2 world wars. The number one cause of death in the 20th century was democide, death by government. Left-wing governments murdering millions and millions and millions of people. You want to study more about it? R.J. Rummel, Death by Government. It's the name of the book. R.J. Rummel. And he actually has a lot more, but that was the opening of his thesis. It's not even a thesis. It's true. Left-wing governments are violent governments. Persecution governments. And they kill a shit ton of people. More human souls were sent out of their physical bodies in the 20th century by left-wingers than by anything. Any other cause of death. It's crazy. It's a crazy stat. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't want to import people into my country that carry ideas like that with them. No, thank you. I'll take Venezuelans. I'll take South African farmers. I'll take Western Europeans who don't want to live in their country anymore because their countries are going to fall soon from unfettered immigration out of some twisted sense of virtue and morality. The Germans are still trying to apologize for Hitler, so they destroyed their society over it. Oh my God. By the way, I got a German, maybe I shouldn't say this, but hell with it, I'll say it. I got a German neighbor. Recent. Newly naturalized, kicked rocks. I'm not living in that damn country anymore. They're out of their freaking minds. I didn't do anything with Hitler. I'm not responsible for Hitler. I'm not going to sit here and have my 14-year-old daughter at risk. Nope. Bye. Take as many of them as we can get. Are you kidding? We're in deep shit here. While you still can get to a number like this, cut it off. And Trump's being rewarded for it. You can see it in his immigration approval. On to his approval, by the way. I wonder, not U.S. born. Where are they at on Donald Trump's approval? First of all, they're Democrat plus 11 on the generic ballot. I wonder if that's true of first gens too. 26, number 4, that's 30. They're 40% flat approval for Donald Trump. 50% flat. The rest are undecided. 50% flat, disapprove. I wonder if we add first gens here. Wow, that's crazy. Right direction with first generation and not, I didn't look at not U.S. born. Let me just look at not U.S. born. The right track, wrong track. Wrong track 50, right direction 27.6. First generations are the most positive. Well, of course, we just looked at the other stats before. I'm not at all surprised. They're actually right track plus 3. Right direction plus 3. If you include not U.S. born, if you even include them. Damn, Trump's approval number would actually be really good if it was just first gens. Let me get this off the screen. You got to see this. It's 327. I know, my kid's coming soon. I was late. I had the other show that I wanted to do, but also we just weren't doing a what are the odds today. So some Mondays maybe we'll be all over the place with time. Because if somebody says, hey, Rich, can you come on the show to discuss what you've polled over the weekend? It's always good to try to reach out and get more audiences aware of the Public Polling Project. So more inclined to say yes when there's no what are the odds, and then just do a stream a little bit later. But look at this. As you can see, first generation, not US born. That's Trump's approval. That's crazy. 30% strongly approve, which is 1.5 points almost. That's 1.1. Let's call it what it is, not round. 1.1. Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, yeah. If it's not too late. Sure. This is, we're talking about Amfest. All right. Looks like I'm doing something for Amfest. Oh my God. Little Adolf. Now I'm little Adolf. Dude may be the only one shorter than me. But whatever. I'm not wasting my show on that curmudgeon. 30% strongly approve, and then 28.5%, or let's call it what it is, 29.6 strongly approve, 28.5% strongly disapprove. This may be the one and only group. If I look at first gens and just first gens alone, this may be the one and only group that has a positive intensity index for Trump's approval rating. I kid you not. And then if you look at right direction, this group is actually right direction, 43.2, wrong track, 40.1. They're freaking right direction, 3.1. Wow. I can't believe we're going to have to keep this in every survey, from every national survey, at least from now on. We do it. Anytime we have immigration questions, we always include this. We will ask it a little bit differently if we're polling Florida, Texas, Nevada, Arizona, and California. And we will say, what state were you born in? And then how long have you lived in this state? If you weren't born in that state, how long have you lived in that state? And then also your generation. All right. So we're wanting to see the impacts of state-to-state migration, and we want to see the impacts of immigration. And the reason I've done that is to show that, in truth, these first gens that are in Texas saved Ted Cruz from losing Texas in 2018. Without those newly naturalized people or those first gens, Ted Cruz would have actually lost. So people, state-to-state migration too. He needed it. He needed it all. People leaving California, going to Texas. If it was just Texans, he was cooked. And that's a very unpopular take, but it's the take. It's the right take. Same thing happened with Donald Trump in Arizona and Nevada, by the way. He did way better with first gens in Arizona. Crushed it. Let's look at just first gens. Let's get rid of the not US born, which we know is a little starkly more negative. Holy crap. I can't wait to look at Trump's approval rating. Holy crap. 46 to 38.3. It's right direction. +8, basically. 7.7 to be exact. But yeah, rounded. Wow. They say, yeah, see, Trump won them. He did win them. First gens, not newly naturalized, but first gens, Trump did win by about that much. That's about right. I'm looking at their certainty to vote. It's low. That sucks. Republicans have to get that up if they want to take advantage of that. That's low. Motivation or enthusiasm is pretty low across the board for this election. Although Democrats just have a stronger vote history. So their coalition is a much more high intensity, high prop coalition. So Republicans have to galvanize theirs more. And there's something interesting to be said about that. Last week, let me go and look it up. I want to make sure I'm right. Last week, it was 70%. Certain to vote was 70%. This week, let's get rid of this. And let's get rid of this. Let's add how likely? Okay. Enthusiasm. I want to show you how they've gone up. Republican. I'm telling you, I am attributing this all to this policy. I'm not kidding. And he was doing so much better. And then he started talking about Venezuela. And when we go into the comments, the specific comments, I will show you what happened. People were literally saying, Jesus, here he goes. He's back. He's gone back to Venezuela again. And it hurt. It hurt. People were like, no, man, no, I'm back to somewhat disapprove. Certain to vote, 76%. He's got, look, let me just say on this with Venezuela. I think I know the real reason. I'm pretty sure that is the real reason. We talked about this on Book Club too, that Donald Trump is thinking of getting rid of Maduro, which would put him in line with Mike Pence. That's not a good look. And if that's the case, whatever, you need to make that case to the American public. American presidents cannot take military action without making the case to the American public. Donald Trump's always had the position, I'm not going to tell you shit because I'm not going to give the enemy any chance to redirect or, prepare, whatever. I understand that point of view, but we live in a public opinion driven society. And if you do not make, you must make the case to the American voter before you engage in military action, sustained military action. You want to bomb Iran's nuclear facility, you don't have to go to the microphone and make the case, all right? But you want a regime change, you have to go and make the case. You can't just decide, Maduro swapped my votes, so I'm going to annihilate him and put in this woman or this other Mary who will never be, neither one of them are going to be able to run Venezuela. The narcos and the paramilitaries are going to run roughshod all over these people. Anyway, you see now Republicans are 75.9 certain to vote, and they are 42.3 extremely, okay? That is a massive increase from last week. And massive, I don't mean it's huge. I mean that it's the jump for certain to vote is 6 points. The jump for extremely enthusiastic is 8. And that's a big deal, especially since it puts them right on par with Democrats now with certainty to vote. Democrats have more robust vote histories, so they're still going to be helped by the likely voter model, but there you have it. Democrats they are more enthusiastic though overall. So this has to be sustained. And I was going to say this before, it can be sustained by Republicans backing Donald Trump on this, getting their asses back in session and trying to make what he has done, surround it with codified legislation from the legislative branch. All right. And it doesn't matter if it fails. It doesn't matter. Show the American public that you're trying to do something for them that they want. This is such a popular policy. It's unbelievable how popular this policy is. And it's important to note that how we worded it. All right, so let me go to the build part of this. Let me go to immigration. Okay. Donald Trump said he will, quote, permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, unquote, from bad immigration policy that, quote again, eroded gains in living conditions for many U.S. citizens. We did it on purpose. Permanently has to be in there. And the fact that it's Donald Trump's policy has to be in there. And yet still, it got 55 to 57 on any given day. I just don't know what the hell else you're waiting on. This was a shot in the arm to the base. And if they want to keep it up, they need to keep the momentum going. Go antitrust all over big pharma and healthcare companies. You want another shot in the left arm. What's up?
Keys, sir.
Oh, really? You, sweetheart. I gave them to you before. Remember?
That's right. I drove. Sorry.
Yeah. You need to do something with the housing crisis in this country, or the housing crisis for specific people. 21st century. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind, Troy. I'm saving that. I'm just leaving it at that. All right. There's lots of things that can be done that can, oh my God, I'm getting blown up here. There's a lot. It's all right. Jesus, guys, give me a second. There's lots of things that can be done to keep this momentum going. You're going to have to constantly do this to keep this enthusiasm level up. Otherwise, you'll lose it again. You will. Don't take another, you took a step forward. Don't take another 5 steps backward, because that's been the story of this administration now for months. I will just say this. I got to do, hold on, let me find it. Nope. Oh, that's another thing. Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's show that. Hold on one second. I hope, Weinstein, I'm taking your tweet, buddy. So Brett Weinstein goes on X and puts up this thing, right? The FDA now recognizes that the COVID vaccines killed healthy children. Uh-oh, am I going to get a ding for this? Whatever. That they killed healthy children who were in no danger from COVID itself. And that's the tip of a gigantic iceberg: bioweapon leaks, science fraud, regulatory capture, global coup by the public health bureaucracy against traditional medicine, the debut of a lethal new vaccine platform, shredding of the First Amendment, the robotic pens used to brazenly pardon criminal masterminds, all lurk beneath the surface. Jeffrey Tucker, why did I not follow you back? I got you. Hey, little buddy. Hey, what's up? Oh, she left? Okay, give me 2 seconds. I'll wrap up the show. Okay. Oh, you look sad. What happened? 1 second. Okay, wait. Daddy's on the show. You want to say hello? No? Okay, can I get a hug? Here, give me this. Oh, give me a hug. Come here, buddy. Okay, check it out. Go take this to the breakfast nook table, and I'll be out there in a couple of minutes. Okay? All right? Did you go look for Missile Joe? Maybe he's chilling, and I don't know if he's in the same spot. Maybe he moved. I don't know. Okay. So there we go. I got Tucker back. Jeffrey Tucker. Okay. So don't give me a hard time. This is crazy. An actual truthful email circulating inside the FDA. Read and weep. I mean, it's miraculous to me. Here's another perfect thing. Like Mark and I, and then with Barnes, we went through the 1776 Law Center. Barnes had funded it. We did the Fort Freedom poll. We did multiple vaccine status tracking. We did adverse effects tracking. There were several obvious things. The younger you were, the more severe adverse effects you were actually reporting, even though you are less at risk from COVID itself. Actually, I mean, no risk to some of these age groups, especially if they don't have pre-existing conditions or a comorbidity. What the hell were they doing? Giving them bad advice, giving parents bad advice. Of course, this was for kickbacks. This is like Big Pharma doing what Big Pharma do. It's the same way that Purdue Pharma was able to get OxyContin down everyone's effing throat. Prescribe them, you'll get X, Y, and Z amount of money for tier A, tier X, Y, and Z. How much you prescribe, you'll get this many kickbacks. FDA, bunch of crooks. They give him a job 6 months later. He's a fat slob who hangs out in Purdue in Purdue's swimming pool most of the damn time, with pretty ladies he'd never be able to get if he was just some dumb schmuck from the FDA. I mean, this whole thing is gross. It never ends. Punish these people. Do something about it. You want to shoot enthusiasm to the stars? Legally remove Fauci's pardon, since it was done by AutoPen, and go get that son of a bitch. It's not hard. This is not hard. God willing, it's coming, right? Jonathan will say, God willing, it's coming. But here's the other one. This is Christopher Hale. I just got off the phone with GOP operatives a GOP operative in Tennessee. Here's what they told me. Van Epps' team, we know that this is tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tennessee's 7th congressional district, special election, right? The Republican Party, this is a Trump plus 22 district. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Georgia's race in 2017 with Karen Handel versus John Ossoff, then a nobody. And Karen Handel was a sitting congressman. She was able to run at where she was, and then she came back to run for Tom Price's seat, which was an R plus 21 district. Handel would wind up winning, and she only won it by 5. Later, we would have another special for it. Handel would lose. Unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. But it was a huge sign of massive problems to come. And the reason why was because the Republican base was demotivated. Nobody wanted to listen back then. Here we are again. I feel like it's deja vu all over again. And yet the clapping seals just sit there. Bomb Israel. Bomb someone for Israel. Like, this is stupidity. It's repeating the same shit. And at the time, I tried to tell them, you're going to depress your base. This is not the way to deal with the Epstein issue. Everybody said, it's not Epstein. It's not Epstein. They didn't want to listen. And look, after the October primary, they dialed in an anemic campaign in the belief that the race was essentially over. Van Epps and his team are one of the textbook. This is textbook. They get Trump's endorsement, and then they sit on their lazy asses thinking that that is all they need to win a race, especially in a district that's Trump plus 22. Right, it's Trump plus 22. It's not you plus 22. But they get the endorsement. They do nothing. They don't knock on doors. They don't make phone calls. They don't send out text messages. And I'm talking about real text messaging campaign, peer-to-peer, organic, human-to-human interaction. They don't do any of that shit. Nothing. About a month ago, the calculus blew up. They thought it was over, guys. They watched Trump's approval rating drop by double digits in Tennessee after he went on offense against releasing the Epstein files during the shutdown. How he dealt with the Epstein files, guys, back in May, the spring going into the summer, was catastrophic, and nobody wanted to listen. Is it 10, 20%? No. But 4 and 5 not coming back is a big problem. They watched Trump's approval rating drop by double digits in Tennessee after he went on the offense about Epstein. According to this operative, Trump's approval rating statewide is now just 44% in a state he carried with 64% of the vote. First of all, that's bullshit. I don't know who's conducting that poll for the Van Epps team, probably more incompetent idiots like the rest of the team. But that is not possible, because I will show you right now the approval rating in the entire country is about that. So there's no way in Tennessee Donald Trump's approval rating is 44%. This is an excuse to blame Donald Trump because their campaign sucks. But I will say this, the Epstein issue was huge. It was huge. It caused all of those new MAGA and young voters, and nobody wants to hear it, but it's true, to say, oh my God, Donald Trump is no different than the rest of them. I guess he's just a shill for Israel. I guess he wants to protect pedophiles and Israel's intelligence community instead of holding pedophiles and criminals and bad people accountable. That absolutely was the beginning of his decline. And then he did the worst possible thing he could do, because that's what people were already thinking. And then he bombed Iran for Israel. Oh my God. And in between, Truth posted that he doesn't want their support anymore. And then again, this fight comes up again. And instead of being on the right side of it, he didn't try. I mean, it really hurt his relationship with certain people on the Hill. They hate the White House. They hate Trump's team. They do. That's a fact. I'm talking about Republicans. They don't like Trump's liaisons in the White House. They've made enemies. Now here we are. But there's no way his approval rating is the same as it is nationwide, because there is Donald Trump's most recent approval rating. 25% strongly approve, 20% somewhat approve. 38%, unfortunately for him, still strongly disapprove. Somewhat disapprove is 12. And by the way, you can see, my God, how it went off the rails yesterday. And why is that? It's talking about Venezuela. Clearing the airspace in Venezuela. People were like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It's like it's the bubble stick. I don't know what else to say. And if there is a legitimate reason, which I know, again, I know what people are saying, then you have to make that case to the voters. You have to do it. Unless you don't want to, it's fine. You don't have to do shit. You're not running for re-election anymore. But if you want to get what so bad in the midterms that you don't even have a Senate to make sure you're not convicted, because they'll abandon you. Look at how they already talk behind your back. That's your fault. It's not Van Epps' fault that they're lazy. He's a horrible candidate. By the way, you shouldn't even have stepped in. Jim Jordan, why the hell did you even get involved, Jim? He wasn't the MAGA candidate. You derailed the MAGA candidate. She was good. Enthusiasm for her and base support was good. You wrecked it with a rhino. And now you're bitching and moaning that a rhino isn't getting it done. A rhino who sat on his ass thinking that he could just ride it all the way through. This is unbelievable. It's just and they'll blame you for it. And the media will let them. They'll write those headlines for them. Unbelievable. All right. My kid has definitely got to, he needs me. So I'm going to have to go and clear this up. I'll get to pulling all this data. I think there's a couple more wrapping up. Then we'll package it. We'll put it in the crosstab. We'll send it to you locals. We'll go over it a lot more. You know me. I'll pop on a stream here and there when I see something cool that I want to show you. And we'll talk about it more with everybody else on Wednesday, especially this thing with the Democratic Party that's going on. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to kick rocks. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them, to share them far and wide. The best place to follow me, we're everywhere, X everywhere, blah, blah, blah. The best place is Locals right there. peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. And, of course, the link to the Public Polling Project is below. Share, contribute, do what you can. All right. I know it's the holiday season coming up. Oh, speaking of which, next week we'll dip into the UFO poll, and then the week after that we'll do the Christmas poll. All right? Or maybe I just can't see doing them together, But yes, definitely share and contribute to the Public Polling Project and share it because yes, there's a lot of work that can be done. That would be a great help. All right. Until then, I will see you later. Thanks for watching, folks. Between the numbers, as always. Keep your eye on the feed. There's more to come. Deuces! Boys. Yeah. Screw with me. Let's go. Boys. Louder. You do. Boys. Boys.